Order up! What is up? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Order Up Podcast. Right here, wherever you may listen to the Order Up Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Breaker, Google Play Music, Apple Music, some other places as well. And of course on the Anchor app. Again, I'm Taryn Williams. I know it's been a while since I've done an Order Up Podcast episode, but I kind of got some things I want to talk about. So hopefully I'll be cranking out a couple in the next few days for you guys to listen to. So for this episode, I want to talk about, we're getting into a new console generation. Actually, we're getting into, I forget what generation. I don't know if this is the 7th or 8th generation of consoles. I forget. It might be 6. I don't even remember. But we're getting into a new console generation this holiday season with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I just wanted to kind of give my brief opinions on the two. I'm not going to get too much into like the hardware, things like that, because I've kind of seen it and I don't know too much about it, so I can't really give, oh man, like this one has so much, the loadings will be quicker than this one. Like I'm not kind of a tech guru like that. So if you say something, if you give me kind of the Cliff Notes version of each console, I can probably talk about then. But not about me personally, just kind of like a little bit overview of kind of how I see it and things like that. This is my personal take on the two, and just my overall feelings on new consoles and this whole, after the consoles come out, the first like year or so of new consoles and how they all have been for me growing up and things like that. So the PS5 actually did their little launch, or not their launch, but they did kind of their reveal back in June, I believe, and the Xbox Series X was already kind of revealed, but they actually did their game showcase July 23rd, which at the time of this recording was just a week ago. It's, a little under a week ago. And guess I'll start with the Xbox Series X one because that one was, more recent, it's a little bit fresh in my mind. I wasn't too impressed by what Xbox did or Xbox and Microsoft did. It wasn't too much going on in it. Like it's supposed to be a game showcase, and a lot of the games were CG trailers or just kind of these maybe in-engine trailers, but not really showing gameplay. And it's like the whole showcase is designed for to talk about the new games, and we didn't get that. So it's kind of lackluster. They did show some stuff. They did kick off their presentation with Halo Infinite, which I thought was nice. So at least get to see the new Halo, which a lot of people were excited about. I haven't played a Halo since like ODST or Reach. I think were the last two Halos I played personally. So I was like, yeah, I understand Halo's, their flagship games. You gotta show that. There's probably gonna be another Gears somewhere down the line for the Xbox Series X as well. But they showed that. They showed Forza. They showed a couple of other things. They didn't show a ton of gameplay. I think one of the biggest games that got one of the biggest pops for them was the new, not Persona, Fantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, I think it was called. It's basically taking kind of Fantasy Star Online 2 and resonant for a new generation of consoles, which is really cool because Fantasy Star Online hasn't been out for like 10, 12, 13 years, something like that. So it's kind of cool. And so it's, even though it says, Fantasy Star Online 2, but it's kind of sort of going to be a new game per se. But that got pretty hyped. I kind of saw that. I was pretty hyped about that. I remember wanting to play Fantasy Star on GameCube, but I never got it because, you needed internet and the GameCube had a modem, which you had to get separately. It was a whole other thing. But yeah, I wasn't too crazy about like what they showed for Xbox. I wasn't too crazy about the trailers or things like that. Like nothing really got me interested. The PlayStation 5 one, it started out right off the gate with the Miles Morales kind of Spider-Man. I guess it's gonna be an extension. I guess it's not really gonna be a standalone game per se. I guess it's gonna be, man, not DLC, but I think it's gonna be like more of like an extension of the game. Spider-Man is on PS4, sort of making a PS5 version of like a small chunk of we get to play with Miles. Excuse me. And they showed that first. That was the first thing they showed. I remember that vividly. And they showed that you got to see a little bit of gameplay of it, and you were already hyped. You were already into it. But like, yeah, because for PS5 they showed that. They showed the new Ratchet and Clank, and they showed kind of how it's going to use the PS5's loading technology, which you could just load new worlds in like seconds. That was really dope to see. And I'm like, that's what Xbox didn't have. They didn't really have a game that really showcased the power of the X series or the Series X. They didn't really show anything that showed that power off, except for Forza, which they always show. Like any new Xbox, Forza is always there, 100%. And it's just like, but it's Forza. Like they know how to use the technology of the Xbox. What about first person shooter? What about third person shooter? What about some of these other games that could be running on this power? Forza always shows up and show out. Like always, I think Forza's always guaranteed to be stunning. Ever since they kind of first started, using Forza, I think the Xbox 360 is when it started because I remember the original Xbox, the OG Xbox, the VCR Xbox, if you will. Project Gotham was like their mainstay racing game, and then it became Forza some years down the line. But yeah, but like Ratchet and Clank showed off the PS5. They showed Resident Evil 8, or Resident Evil Village, which is Resident Evil 8. They showed that, which was kind of CG, but they did show like little bits of gameplay ish type things. I think it was running in engine. That wasn't CG at all. There's this other game that looked kind of like a hybrid between Dishonored and something else. I forget the name of it, but that was in engine, and that was kind of like gameplay. So we saw that, and so just like the PS5 was hype, and of course they showed for Horizon 2, the next Horizon in that series, and yeah, people were hyped. Like people, I think came out of the PS5 reveal way more hype than the Xbox gameplay showcase. And I just feel like that was kind of a win for PS5, but also there's also this beef between Sony and Xbox, and how like Sony fanboys and Microsoft fanboys and whatever. And I'm like, really, I don't care. I like video games. I'm very like unbiased. Like it's just funny how people are, oh well, Xbox got this, well Sony got this, and I'm like, I want to see both companies do well, because that means me as a consumer has dope options. More options for me as a consumer makes me happy. So I want to see both of them succeed. And technically speaking, the Switch is also part of this kind of new generation of consoles. But the Switch came out in 2017. The Switch, Nintendo get a 3-year jump on this new generation of consoles. I don't know if they're doing something after the Switch. Maybe, a couple of years where it'll be like the Switch 2 or the Switch Prime, or, Switched again or whatever. That sounds like some Nintendo shit that they'll say. But the Switch came out in March 2017, like worldwide for the most part. And it's been blowing up. Like it did really, really well. And I might end up doing a podcast specifically talking about the Switch, but the Switch has more third party support than any other Nintendo console I've seen in years. Like it's more than the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U combined. So you kind of forget. So usually Sony has the leg up on everybody, but now Nintendo has a leg up on the two competitors, and their Switch is everywhere. I got a Switch, last year, and I love my Switch. I love kind of the idea of being able to play it on the TV or play it to go. And they came up with the Switch Lite, which is basically a Switch Game Boy hybrid, where it's the Switch console. It's nothing but the Switch, but it's kind of like a hard plastic, like a Game Boy, and it's strictly portable. You don't have that versatility. And I kind of spent a little extra money to get a Switch that was versatile, so I played it on my TV and take it to go, which is me personally. But yeah, it's just kind of back to the PlayStation 5 and then, the Xbox Series S. And also, Xbox really needs to work on their names for their consoles. Like the Xbox Series X is a long title. Like, why is it called that? Why couldn't you call it the Xbox 720? If you're gonna do the Xbox One, why not do the Xbox Two? So it makes sense, or just call it X2. X2 would have been fine. I would have loved that. X2 would have been a cool name. Also, it's kind of a X-Men reference from the X2 movie, but they should have just called it X2 or something. Like, I don't. That's one thing about Xbox or Microsoft that kind of blows me, is their naming for their consoles. Like, come on, they went from Xbox, this is fine, Xbox 360, cool. So everyone thought the next one was going to be the Xbox 720, which makes sense, numerically. But no, we're going to call it the Xbox One. So we go Xbox 360, Xbox One. Then they came out with the Xbox, Series S. Like, what the hell do y'all do? At least Sony's been PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. Guess what the next one is? The PlayStation 5. Makes sense. Nintendo's been kind of all over the place too, if you think about it. We go from NES or the Famicom to the SNES or the Super Famicom to the N64 to the GameCube to the Wii to the Wii U to the Switch. I mean, that's even dumber, but Xbox is even more confusing. But yeah, I'm really excited. One of the things I like, me, my uncle, and a lot of my friends, we always say the only thing about new consoles is usually the first year of games usually suck. Like the first couple of releases kind of suck. It's wild to think that new hardware, new power, new capabilities, and we still gonna get some sucky games, because like not everyone's gonna have, not everyone's engine is gonna be optimized for the new hardware that they're gonna be on. So usually the first couple of games are gonna suck. Like there'll be like maybe like the launch title. There'll be a couple of decent launch titles that'll be really good. That'll get pretty rave reviews, but most of them are gonna be like decent. They'll be like okay, you know. And so that's what I'm kind of worried about. That's why I'm never excited for a new console, just for the fact that you're not gonna get that many great games. And I forget what console had like the best release, but it's not. But yeah, I know the GameCube had a rough one, and so yeah. But launch games are always, really important. And so that's kind of one of the things I'm always curious about for new consoles. And I just hope the PS5 and the Series X have really solid launch titles just to carry us into this next, I guess, evolution of gaming. Hopefully, like I'm not sure. And that's another thing about new consoles I'm kind of curious about. It's like how far can you push the envelope? Because like your eyes, personally, like your eyes can only see so much. Like like what can we do? Like we get shading, we're getting lighting. Like, what else can we do to make the game experience better? I'm very curious about that. I really like. Do I have a preference for either one between the Series X and the PS5? Not really. Oh, also, I want to talk about the looks because that was really like a topic of memes and stuff. A lot of people came out the PS5 because like the white, kind of the black, kind of the black metal, kind of white with a little hints of blue. I like this. That's when I showed the controller. That controller is swaggy. Like I don't care what nobody says. Like give me a pair of Jordan ones with the PS5 color. I hope. And they do a PS5 colorway for the like if they do Jordan ones with a PS5 colorway, I'm on it. I am on that because that shit is swaggy. Shit is hot. I don't care what no one says. A lot of people were clowning, and I'm like, it's clean. It's just gonna get dirty fast because white attracts dirt. But give me that color, please. Fingers crossed. Sony, Jordan, if you hear this podcast somewhere, somehow, make a Jordan 1 with a PS5 colorway. Please. That's gonna be dope. I will have to buy those day ones type stuff. I get them. Maybe I would resell them. No, I wouldn't. I wear them joints. There's no way in hell. But a lot of people were saying the PS5 looked like a wireless router, and it does. And there's so many really good memes. Like someone took like a wireless router and took two white envelopes, put it between the black like modem of a wireless router, and was like, "I got a PS5." That shit was hilarious. And then the Xbox Series X looks like a computer tower. That's what it looks like. It's a perfect cube. Like it's perfectly shaped. It's like a perfect rectangle cube. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. I guess we're not getting super creative in what we're doing. I mean, sure, but that doesn't. But if it runs well, how games run and how games look and how they load. Backwards compatibility. Backwards compatibility is going to be very, very important. So we'll see what the. I know the Series X is supposed to have backwards compatibility. But I'm not sure about the PS5. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have to do that. Cause there's that. I remember there's the whole DRM stuff from a couple of years ago. Like it's just a lot. I want both launches to be smooth. They haven't really announced the prices yet. I'm curious about the prices. But I'm very curious to see like what the names go, or what the games look like and what the next generation. I can't talk right now. The next generation of consoles has in store for us. But yeah, that's kind of it. It's kind of my little spill. This is me talking about the consoles. Thank you so much for checking out this brand new episode of the Aura Podcast. Yeah, if I get one, which will probably be a PS5 because I've had a PS3, a PS4 now, I'll probably get a PS5. I don't need a whole lot because I have a PC. My PC plays, I have a PC with Steam that covers a lot of Microsoft stuff. I have a Switch, I have a PS4. Maybe I'll get a PS5 just to kind of keep that going, but we'll see. But I won't be getting one at launch. I'll get a PS5 like next year in the summer or something like that. But thank you so much for checking out this brand new episode of the Aura Podcast. Like the podcast wherever you listen to. Give it a thumbs up. Follow the podcast. You can follow it on Anchor. You can follow it on Spotify. If you listen to this on Spotify, follow the Aura Podcast. I greatly appreciate it. And then you can check out. Actually, if you go to my website, SlicingDicingGaming.com, it has links for the YouTube channel, the Twitch channel, my social media, and also links to the podcast, which goes through Anchor. And on the Anchor app, and on the Anchor webpage, it shows you all the other platforms you can find the Aura Podcast. It's like 7 podcasts. Or 7 platforms you can check out the podcast. But definitely do that for me. I greatly appreciate it. Share it, like it, like always. Thank you for taking some time out checking out the Aura Podcast. I'm gonna try to get a couple more cranked out. I have some other ideas that you want to talk about. Always and forever, slicing, dicing, gaming. It's not just a motto, it's a lifestyle. I'll see you in the next podcast. Later.